Okay. Good evening and welcome to the White Wave Views broadcast tonight, the WWVB, coming to you live from Auckland, New Zealand, by Addie, that's me, the founder, director and spokesperson for the Pakeha Council. The headquarters, the supercell, the home of, and my home here, this is my office, and this is where we're starting our Pakeha Council. I'm an initiator of a movement that has just been born organically as we have seen a large amount of people becoming quite frustrated and very angry about what's happened to our country. Now, one of the main missions of our movement is the unification of New Zealand Europeans, and we need to come together and we need to convene in conference. We've got some heavy things that we're facing in our country. We've got some threats. We have domestic threats, we have foreign threats as well. We've had a lot of changes in our community that we never voted for and that we haven't liked. We've had a lot of tribalism coming in, Maorification, where they've been decolonising and just persecuting us. You know, we're just the pariahs in the nation that we built, and we're sick of it and we're not taking it anymore. So instead of trying to tear them down, not that we're not going to expose them, because we're coming after the fake, fraud and fiction. Okay, we're coming after it, and we've got our ducks in a row. And the Pakeha movement has a proposal for New Zealand Europeans. Okay, so I want you to consider this proposal for a colonial mission march, which will be maybe next year or maybe not till the year after. It's going to take at least a year or two to plan and prepare for it, and we do a well executed event, like a big one. Okay, we've got a small window of opportunity to take our authority back that's been removed. We're expected to sacrifice our culture, traditions and values for tribalism and mass immigration, and also having to put up with the blatant filth that's coming into society and through our schools. There's so many things that we are insulted and offended about, and nobody cares. There's no Crown Relations Minister for us. We've been shut out of the tribunal. We have grievances. We're the defendant of those accusations. We haven't had a chance to speak. We've been suppressed and marginalised. We're the ones, okay, that are being pushed to the back burner. Now, to unify Pakeha is not going to be an easy thing, because there's several factors in us strategizing to unify New Zealand Europeans. Now, I've had a lot of feedback from people. I've had a lot of emails and I get a lot of comments, and I take that feedback into account, because what I'm doing is I'm just initiating and rounding people up. I've dropped the Queen thing from this council page, and I am just running with that image with the Pakeha Church, which I've started a Facebook page of as well. So it's all just online at the moment, but it's going to go into the community. It's going to take time and for people to unite and just do some simple tasks all in synchronicity. Okay? We do what works, we don't reinvent the wheel, and we follow the track that the Maori already beat the path before us. Okay, so we follow that track. We do a colonial mission march, very similar to the Maori Land March in 1975, where they used the poster granny Whina Cooper to front it. And they also teamed her up with a young 20-year-old man called Vivian Hutchinson. So this was well executed in the background by other people. You can call them Maori elites or the Maori mafia or whatever. I call them the Kingitanga because the spirit of the Kingitanga was always one that didn't like the sovereignty. They didn't want to be governed. They attacked the Pakeha. A couple of hundred farms were absolutely destroyed. People were run off or killed. There was cannibalism still going on in the 1860s. This is way after the treaty. These rebels broke it over and over and over. And so in 1860 they had a big Kohimarama conference and they talked about everything for a whole month. It was the biggest hui they ever had with 150 native chiefs. Now if there's any principles, that's where you find them. But that's for another video that I do about the Kohimarama conference. The unification of the Pakeha is the main thing. I've been getting feedback about the Queen thing and they say, oh, it's a bit wacky, and I've taken that into account, and with the council I'm just going to be Addie Morrison. Okay, and like I said before, I've started up the Pakeha church for the Christian people or the more religious people, because some people don't like the religion part of it. You can't really separate the Christianity from the treaty anyway in our history. You can't do it. I don't come from a religious point of view. I'm not affiliated with the church at all. I used to regulate a lot of churches and I wrote a book about it. But that's another video as well. My book will be published this year along with a couple of songs. Now the unification of the New Zealand Europeans is very, very important, and you've got to listen. Okay, now the Pakeha mindset, I'll tell you some weaknesses and negatives about the Pakeha culture and mindset. Okay, I had to write them down, there was so many. But no, we've got to look in the mirror and we've got to think, okay, what is it to be a Pakeha in the 21st century? You know, how do we explain what that is, or how do we have a sense of belonging about that? How do we embrace it? Do we reject it? And, you know, why should we do that? The Pakeha mindset is very individualistic compared to a tribal mindset is very collective. The Pakeha mindset is very self-reliant. Pakeha can be very fixed in their ways. They have like a family culture, and it's just the small extended family. We've never been a collective or a tribe in New Zealand. We've never just exclusively had white people anything. It's very unusual for us to actually see in the last few decades that all the races that come here, they all like tribe up. You know, they have organisations. They have, like, the Indians have about 300 organisations. I kid you not. I did a video about that a couple of months ago and I got a lot of bad negative comments from Indian people. But all I was doing was just giving statistics and showing the paperwork. So everybody's tribed up in their little race cult except us. Okay, the government has set up every other race here with association societies and they get funded, except us. I've been on those funding registries and everybody is funded except people from the UK. We're on the bottom of the priority list. We're coming last, people, while they're saying that we're privileged and everything's set up for us. No, where's our Pakeha TV? Where is our tribunal? You know, where's our Pakeha anything? Where's our identity? Where's our national costume and dance? And, you know, we've got to create it all. We've got to reinvent ourselves for the 21st century. Now, this Pakeha, people have been giving me feedback and saying, oh, don't call me a Pakeha. Or, I'm a white New Zealander. I'm a European. I'm a native Kiwi. Doesn't matter what you call yourself. For the function of what we're doing here, okay, which is going to be a corporate legal thing, we're going to be filing cases and we're going to be taking a petition to the Beehive. Once we've done our little tour, our 2-week tour with the Colonial Mission March, I've kind of planned it all out already. I've just got to do the organisation of actually contacting all the people and synchronising it all and all of that. I've organised events before, so yeah. It just takes a long time to actually write it all down so people can understand what's happening. New Zealanders are floundering around, and there's a lot of groups and individuals that are doing great work, projects and initiatives, and that's awesome. And they're all very, clicky with themselves. Like I said, the Pakeha mindset is like, this is our thing. They don't like bringing other people in. I mean, to amalgamate all the databases that like Hobson Pledge have and whoever else, to amalgamate all those databases would be just near on impossible. Nobody wants to share their database. However, you can come under an umbrella movement that has like an advanced website that has a lot of features, and everybody can be promoted from there. So everybody knows what everybody else is doing, and as we build the database, the Registry of New Zealand Europeans, which we're doing, you just got to email, and I'll put it in the comments below. You just got to email, and then boom, you're on the list for the newsletters. And you've got to keep an eye on what we're doing, because there's different things going on in the background. Some of them I can't talk about, but I've got a website as well. I hashed it together. It's just a free website with ideas and information. I'm not technical. I mean, I wouldn't know how to build an advanced website. I would need someone else to help me with that. So if we're going to serve you with these amazing things like getting reserved seats in Parliament and a Crown Relations Minister, setting up a council and having 100 clan trusts and organisations that we can identify with, okay, you got to help me in the beginning. You've got to volunteer to do some things. And yes, people have volunteered, they have, and I just need to get it all written down so people know where they could fit in with their skills and resources and their time. If you want to help, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with, because you know what, us Pakeha, I like to use the name because it's the Pakeha title that the Maoris have dragged through the mud and made it into derogatory meanings, but it actually really meant that the original one was Gods of the Sea. I mean, I think that's pretty good, don't you? Gods of the Sea. Maybe we should start acting like it. That's where the law is, the law of the sea, and it's about time Pakeha decided that we can claim things too. And what is important about the title, you don't have to call yourself a Pakeha. Okay, but it has a good honourable meaning. The old Maoris loved us, the treaty chiefs, they just thought we were the best thing since sliced bread. Because we were. We brought them from death to life, and there's a fantastic account of New Zealand history that really hasn't been told quite adequately enough about colonialism and how there was miracles that happened in our country. I mean, you try and go into the bush of cannibal savages with the word of God, just with, a couple of you and a few guides. And you try and do that. And the reason why they managed to convert these chiefs is because they did a lot of research and homework first. They planned, they prepared, like really well. That's why it worked. There was probably lots of other people that maybe tried to give them word of God and they couldn't unify under it. But there were some tribes that already did know the word of God before those English settlers came. So the word of God had been there. Maybe, I don't know where it came from, but to me, my opinion is that there was lots of different races living in New Zealand for hundreds of years, coming from all sorts of places on ships. So the unification of the Pakeha, don't reject the Pakeha name. Don't come onto this page and say, I'm not going to be called a Pakeha. Just keep it in your top pocket for now, okay? Just be neutral. Don't drag it down. We're trying to turn the tide here. Okay, if we're going to unify under this grand lawful title, because it is lawful and legal, and we are documented as the other race of the treaty and all the conference records and the minutes of the meetings and everything. Maori and Pakeha are not mentioned in the actual treaty document in any of the 5 paragraphs. But later on in all the other documents, and especially at the Kohimarama Conference in 1860, the 2 races of the treaty, the 2 races of the treaty, the 2 races of the treaty. Whina Cooper said it. in 1975. It's about time the two races of the treaty came together. And I'm like, looking back, I'm thinking, well, weren't they intermarrying by the 1970s? But anyway, there must have been a big flux of them breeding with us, because Fina Cooper, her policy, it's like I don't know. Some of these policies that the Maori have got are straight out of the Nazi handbook, and they call us Nazis. It's like they got these mind control programs going on, right? Pakeha come in and get your mind stripped of the whiteness, you know. They've got this going on. Oh, honestly, it is. I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on behind closed doors in New Zealand. And this is why we've got so many Pakeha traitors that are fronting their enterprises, or families with a little smidgen of Maori, or they've got Maori grandkids, oh, we better go onto the Maori side. And it's like a real division. I mean, people are scared to actually say, oh, no, I don't want to be involved in that. They're just scared. Half of the people in this country, and there was a survey done, they're too scared to speak out about history and the treaty. It's ridiculous. Well, and I say to those people, just stand behind me. Just join our movement, stand behind me, and I'll say it all for you. I'm in the perfect position. I don't own anything. Nothing to lose. No reputation to use. I mean, I'm a nothing and a nobody. I don't have a big influence at all. I'm just coming out from the woodwork, and I'm answering the call of God. That's what I'm doing, and I am prepared for it in a lot of ways. The Pakeha movement has to be one that is by the New Zealand Europeans, for them, and on behalf of them, because we're in the bottom of the list in a lot of places, and our people need services where they're not getting anywhere else. So what's actually happening is there's a big cycle that's happened. What all the Maori people are complaining about for the last 50 years is actually literally happening to us. It's happening to us, everything they say. I mean, when we get going, right, which we will, they won't know what to call us, because they've used up all the slanderous names they can muster. What are they going to, what are they going to call us when we have a conference? Racist? Well, how could we be suddenly racist now when we've never done this before? You were calling us racist before, and now we're having conferences, and you're calling us racist, but this is the first time we've done it. What are you going to call us now? It's like we've got to be facetious and sarcastic and satirical here. A lot of what I do is theatrical. It is, because I was brought up in the theatre. That's why we're going to have a creative team. That's the other side of the movement. So you've got the council, which is more sort of serious and professional. We're going to do all the legal stuff. We're also going to be doing the common law stuff and all of that, which that's another video. You know, the Magna Carta and all. That's our constitution. That's our Commonwealth Constitution, okay? If we don't get taught that, we get bashed over the head by a fake treaty while our English one has gone missing. It was found. But soon after the treaty was signed, it went missing, and it was not needed anyway until the Waitangi Tribunal sparked up and they thought, where's that English treaty? And they couldn't find it, because they were let loose on all the archives, eh? And they started decolonising the data. Yeah, they blatantly do it now. They have YouTube videos that you can watch with them doing it. You know, they're decolonising the data today, and they actually film it, put it on YouTube. This is how blatant it's become normal, because it's been 50 years. So the unification of New Zealand Europeans, we're the only ones that can sort it, because we're the other race of the treaty. Right? Do you get it? I mean, are you getting this, people? Or, I mean, yes, you can say you're a New Zealand European. Excuse me. Of course you can say you're New Zealand European. There's nothing wrong with that, but that doesn't differentiate you in this culture war from the family that came from Poland 6 months ago. Yes, they would be considered a Pakeha, but the true essence of the historical Pakeha were the English people that came here and took the Maori from death to life. Those brave people that did mammoth works, like putting the language into using the English language to form the te reo. That's a mammoth work. Okay, they didn't have a lot of words, but it's continued. That mammoth work has continued, that they've never even once said thank you for. All they do is spread a lie that, colonialism, tried to destroy our language. It's utter bullshit. It's totally the opposite. This is what really makes my blood boil, eh? It really does. And that's why I'm sticking my neck out and putting my life on the line to do this. And I'm doing it fearlessly. I'll say what I want. I have to be careful what I say, of course, and I do try and do that, and I try and have a good approach. But, I got a trilateral brain going on. I'm ADHD. I've got to get things done, and I can get things done. I've got a lot of good ideas, and a lot of my ideas come from heaven, coming straight down, and I wake up in the morning and think, wow, that is just, God just showed me something. It's like, yeah, that is so simple and yet effective. Because I was so pissed off. God just said, you can't tear them down, you can only raise a standard. And so that's when I got out of my depression after all the COVID shit and I got mandated out. We're putting up with these scams and hoaxes. There's lots of scams and hoaxes and frauds in the world, okay? It happens all the time, doesn't it? Right? So don't think that the government can be exempt from getting scammed and hoaxed and having fraud document. You look at the lady Moxon that went to the UN last month, crying like a baby, spitting the dummy. Oh, the government is trying to exterminate us. I just can't believe this charade, this clown show that's going on. Where's our connection with the UN? We're victims. We're a minority. Literally 15% of people identify as Pakeha. We're more of a minority than Maori, aren't we? And even in the world, the white people, the Caucasian race, is only 8% now. It was 35. So who's being exterminated and genocided and culled out and bred out with mass immigration? Who decided that Maori could renege on the agreement that we had in Whina Cooper, encourage them, go to the settler hall dances, get with the Pakeha. That's how we get rid of them, she said. That's what she said on national TV. This is my policy. To get rid of the Pakeha, marry them. Marry them. This is the Maori mindset, and they're talking about our mindset. This is the Maori mindset. If you want to get rid of the Pakeha or get what they've got, you marry them, but you still call your kids Maori. That's why we've got 1 million people identifying as Maori today. So you would think Te Pāti Maori would get more votes, but no, they don't. They're not in it for the politics. They're just in it for the freebies and the money and the opportunities, the education, starting a business. Seems like half of them are digital creators and artists now. You can just draw squiggles and lines and dots now, and you're an artist. It's like everything is being watered down to a sub-adequate form. It's like, oh my God, can you please bring the avant-garde back? It's everywhere. It's the music. It's you walk down the streets and nobody's weeding anymore. They don't care if the big roots of the trees are all poking out of the concrete. It's like the council does not care about the landscape anymore. All they care about is the cultural agendas and the other hoaxes like climate change and all that. I mean, it is literally colder now than it was when Jesus walked the earth. Okay, so we're not having global warming. The sea isn't rising or going down. It's exactly the same. The weather patterns, it's just a cycle. It's just a cycle. That's all it is. I'm not going to get fooled into any of those things. And I'm not going to be told what I can and I cannot do. I am free, okay, to do what I want. As long as I stay within the bounds of the law, there's nothing that anyone can do. They wouldn't want me in the court anyway because I know what I'm talking about and I've got all my paperwork and ducks in a row, if you know what I mean. So the Pakeha unification, it's got to happen. We're calling us the Pakeha because it's a brand and a movement. Okay, you don't have to call yourself that, but you know, you will benefit from it eventually because it's just how it's going to go. We've got to do the Pakeha aura because that's the reverse psychology. Okay, and remember that all the language was created from the English language. All the Maori words are English words, fashioned from the English language. Just using less consonants, and all the vowels have the same sound. And look, they keep adding to it and changing the meanings and definitions. This is what we don't like about it. About the reo, it's weaponized, it's bastardized. You know, it's being used for an agenda. That's not racism, that's just calling out the fraud. That's all it is. Calling out the fiction and the fake. Yeah, that's what it is. New Zealand Europeans have to have educational unity about our history and the treaty. And Julian Batchelor is doing a fantastic job with that. I'll put a couple of his links in the comments below as well. You got to watch his really good short vids. And he took TVNZ to court recently, last month, and he's got a story about that as well. They tried to make him out to be a racist. You know, that's all they were interested in. Like, he pays 50 grand to take TVNZ to court, and, you know, the judge walks in, you know, a Maori judge with a cloak on. I mean, isn't that a conflict of interest? They've captured our courts, they've captured our education system, they've captured the government, they've captured the teachers, the minds of everybody, with their thousands of treaty workshops. I mean, this is a conflict of interest. Who are these people that they need to have extra education about history outside of the main school curriculum? That's how everybody's being brainwashed through their treaty workshops. You know, they have them all the time. They're still having them. I actually went to one a couple of years ago. I got told to leave because I just couldn't help myself. I couldn't help myself but question it. You know, because I'm outspoken. And I don't really care what people think. I'll just say it. You know, when people break integrity, right, they forfeit their right to respect. You just go into rebuke and correction and warning mode. And I'm really good at that. You know why? Because I have a prophetic mantle. And the prophetic mantle, what comes with it is like, oh my God. You know, I reckon that I prayed Jacinda Ardern off the throne. I really do, because I did a lot of it. And I had other people praying too. It wasn't just me. I reckon we prayed her off the throne. And there's been other people on the prayer list too. You know, we could drop them one by one. We honestly could, just with a psychic bomb, spiritual warfare. But that's what my Pakeha church is all about. So the Christians can go over to there. Okay, and that's where I'll talk about all the religious stuff, and that's when I'm going to be the queen. You see, the Maoris have got a monarchy, and so I'm going to be building a church monarchy. It's going to be very exciting. You got to fake it till you make it. This is how the world works. It's all theatre. It's all theatre. The whole government is theatre. They come in with that sceptre and they lay it down on the stand. It's just all a play that gets repeated, and it's voluntarily accepted by the people because they have to have somebody governing them. You know, they have to have law and order. But the Maori people, they unified. We need to take a page out of their book. They unified really well, but they had a good head start and a handicap and bags of money. So, you know, they are streaks ahead. We're coming last, people. We're coming last. And with the He Puapua document, they're trying to push it through. I tell you what, if Labour gets back in and they spark up that He Puapua document, they'll be just co-governing everything, and they'll have all the veto powers, and they'll take over the country. They want to be fully co-governing by 2040. So we're going to have a plan for 2040 as well, which after the Colonial Mission March we're going to work on. It's going to be the 2040 thing. I might not even be alive then. I might not. But it doesn't matter. It's not about me. I want to leave a legacy behind, and I want to outpour what I've been filled up with, and I want to use all my talents and abilities rolled into this ministry. Okay, so you've got the council, you've got the Pakeha church side, and that's going to be amazing because we're going to have a new breed of church. We are. We're going to have the Pakeha Queen Church. I'm going to have a throne too, and people can come in and hug me. You know, they're going to be able to hug the Queen, and they just will, because if you set it up, people just follow. They just do. It's all theatre. You've just got to set it up and have a costume and believe in yourself. But I mean, somebody said, "Oh, you're a self-appointed queen," and I'm like, "Well, no, actually, God appointed me. He did it." But I don't have to prove that. Also, the Pakeha culture has a royal sort of symbolism to it. So that's part of our symbolism, the crown, you know, the power, the sovereignty and all of that. We're not, so I never say I'm sovereign, because only God is sovereign. The only reason why the monarchy is considered a sovereign entity is because they're under God, okay? Because they're under God. Everything's under God. Every little bit of our rights is all wrapped up from the scripture. That's why Christianity isn't a religion. It is a way of life that's worked for millenniums. We should have got it right by now, right? Christianity is what changed the face of New Zealand. And they loved it. They experienced God. It's a personal choice, which is different to tribalism and chieftainship, where the chief makes the choice. They were all set free to be their own chief. It was a big mistake for the government in 1975 to re-tribalise Maori. You know, to sort of set it up in like a novelty way and get them to all pick an iwi. As if you'd know. Some of them, right, if they stayed in the same area and they had the same name and everything, but they didn't have iwi names and stuff. This is all a modern invention. Okay? So because there's a modern invention of the Maori side, and, you know, if they want to be treaty-centred, you know, we can use the articles as well. Article 3, we have the same rights. We also have the same duties. You know, when you're given rights, you have to abide by the duties, and I don't think Maori have done that. They've rebelled against the crown. They're still rebelling against the crown. Saying you're sovereign it was something that was treasonous once upon a time, and you could have been hung for it. You know, when they set the kingitanga up and they appointed a king, it was thought the most ridiculous thing ever, and they didn't think it was going to go anywhere. They thought it was just child's play. And then by 1860, no, they got the most aggressive tribalists, and they were predators. Pakeha survived that. We're survivors. You know, I mean, there was a genocide in New Zealand after the treaty in the 1860s. There was. That's when they brought the troops in. And that's when they had to do some invading. You know, before that there was no invasion. You know, except for the Holy Spirit and the gospel that was brought, that the Maori people accepted, and they welcomed colonialism. They loved it. They helped organise it all. And they were very much brought into the picture, and they were respected in that way. And the governors took on a lot of the Maori ideas just so they could compromise, and it took a long time for them to understand British law and the ways of the world, of the Western world. And I think an exemplary job was actually done overall. And if these races that come to New Zealand, and you want to celebrate your culture from all around the world and the best of it, and nobody speaks a peep of any shit you've done in your past with your country or your ancestors didn't do anything wrong? Were they perfect holy angels, were they? Were they? I mean, should we really start picking on all the graphic crap from every race's history just so we can have you're more of a victim than me competition? I mean, I'm sick and tired of hearing how colonialism was so bad when I know it was so good. It's only the ones these days that look back on it and trying to make something up. They're the kingy type people. They shouldn't really be there because we fought against them and that was treason to have a monarchy, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Why did the government let them recreate again in the early 1900s after we finally got rid of these death cult members? Okay, they went underground and they bought some property in Ngaruawahia which was actually called Newcastle. That's what the Pakeha named it, Newcastle. And it is Newcastle. We're going to get it back. Going to get our Newcastle back. And the that these group of Maori people bought a piece of land, but they didn't buy it as the Kingitanga. You know, they had some other fancy Maori name, looking all okay on the surface. And then later on, boom, the next thing they're the Kingitanga, they're the monarchy, and they call themselves a parliament, and they say that they're the most, they're a unique political institution, and this is how they do things, and that's how they do things. Well, I don't know about you, but that's been going 100 years now, and they're very entrenched and very cemented there. I mean, you just look at what goes on with that Ngaruawahia marae, the Tūrangawaewae marae that they call a monarchy, and has the Queen now. Okay? So, I get Maori coming on here saying, oh, you're not a queen. I'm like, well, you've got a queen. So I'm doing the reverse psychology. We're following in the same path as Maori. Okay? We're going to do the same thing. So they can't call us racist and they can't call it unusual because it's already been done. It's being done by all the other races here too. They get set up. Okay, and we've been left out. We're up shit creek without a paddle. That's what's happening to us. And they might not believe it. They're not going to listen to us, right? They're just saying, oh, we're being crybabies. Because we're losing our white supremacy. Oh, we're crying over that. They've got no idea what's coming. The intelligence, and I'll tell you what, they've poked the bear long enough. And now we're rising up. The New Zealand European unification is something that I am trying to do, and I'm just starting a small database. It's just slowly growing, and I make newsletters. I'll put my email in the comments below, and sometimes I share other people's material, and I'm always coming up with something new. So we've got the creative team as well. We're looking for musicians and singers and dancers and stagehands and sound tech people, because we're going to be leasing or hiring somewhere one day a week in Auckland here. I don't know where to look for a space. If anybody can help me with that, that'll be so good in Auckland. If you could just find somewhere we could have just one day a week or an evening or an afternoon. And the church that we're going to be having is not going to be like your regular church. It's going to be a new breed. You know why? Because the churches have actually failed us. They haven't contended for the faith. Okay? And the reasons why we got all these threats is because the faith has been kicked to the curb. It hasn't been nurtured. It hasn't been respected. It hasn't been part of our law, and it should be. There used to be a law against blaspheming Christianity. Christianity is what founded this nation. Christianity is the pillars of what keeps everything together, all your rights and everything. The fact that you can freely come here is because of Christianity. If we had have left the Maori up to what they were doing, nobody would be coming here. How would that have been mended if they had the best way possible that it got all mended? They did. The kids at school just need to know the great stories of the past. They're being alienated. Our Pakeha kids are being alienated from their heritage and their roots, being made to feel ashamed, like guilty of something. They're bringing this past stuff back in. They're bringing it forward into the now, and they're psychologically beating us up with it. And it didn't even happen. We're not doing anything to the Maori. We're hiding under the couch. We never go to their meetings and protest at the door and scream abuses like they did with Julian Batchelor. And that wasn't a Pakeha meeting. That was just happened to be that a lot of older Pakeha people were going. Okay, and he just had hordes of Maoris outside. That's the Maori culture. Bullying. Persecuting. Running down. Labelling. Regurgitating things from the past that just never happened. We haven't had a chance to respond to all those accusations. But we're coming with our own treaty workshops. Okay, we're going to be deprogramming Pakeha too, because you trade a Pakeha out there fronting these racist organisations. You need to look in the mirror and realise you need to get a bit of an education. You should consider looking at another point of view and thinking about how you are cooperating in the destruction of our national heritage, of what made New Zealand great, that we were living quite happily until somebody came along and destroyed it. We thought there was something wrong with it. We've got an absolute mess now. It's unbelievable the mess we have here in New Zealand. We're going to do something about it. So, email me to get on the database. Okay, don't worry about the Pakeha name. Just put it in your top pocket, or just embrace it. Get it put on a t-shirt. Pakeha ora. Why not? Throw it in their face. It's our language, we wrote it, and he who creates owns. Don't let them tell you that, even the land, God owns the land. When you buy a property, you're only buying 6 inches of the dirt. The rest, God owns it. He created the land. He owns it. The Maoris going around saying that they have ownership of the land. They were only given a style of ownership for the real estate sales. They sold 92%. They've got no authority. That's what the Pakeha, the chief said that. So they sold 92% of their land. Go and live on the other 8%. Build something. Build a town. You just gate crashed our colonial towns because Venus told you to come in, go to the settler halls, and, sleep with our males and sleep with the Pakeha females. Have children. And now look at those children, those hybrid part Maori, or people with a little bit of Maori getting a moko. Those people have become traitors and they're identifying as Maori. So they actually are decreasing our race. This is just a tactic of decreasing our race, watering it down, and making sure that the Europeans that have got some Maori blood are identifying as Maori. And there's a lot of delicious things that you can get if you're Maori. We don't have any of those privileges that they've got. This is the first time that we have ever started anything Pakeha exclusively. Okay, so this is a natural, organic process of being beaten around for 50 years. Okay, and everybody hates us because of it. We can feel it in the community. The immigrants that come in, they don't even employ us. And I reckon some of that reason is because they've been given the bad seed about us. Because the Maori people capture the immigrants with their paperwork. The ethnic confederation, they all probably get a special pack. And in that pack is, we're the iwi and we're the sovereigns here. And honestly, there's a whole load of treason going on. And we're the only ones that can fix it up. The other race of the treaty, the majority of the community. We're the ones that have worked it. We're paid for all the infrastructure as well. Back in the old records, the Maori were moaning that they got so much money for the land, okay, and then the Crown was selling it to Pakeha for for 3 times as much. Okay, so even today you'll get Maoris telling stories about, the Crown made all of this money and Pakeha generated great wealth and, we got pittance. No, it was all explained to them. And if you read the Kohimarama Conference records, all of these things that Maori accuse us of today are all explained in there. But they'll never quote from there. They never quote the treaty chiefs. When I was growing up, when the Maori started having their marches in the 70s, it was honour the chiefs. They always said it. They had big signs that said, honour the chiefs, honour the chiefs. Well, they don't do that today. You know why? Because the Waitangi Tribunal went through the Kohimarama Conference records and they found what the chiefs really said, and they just put it to the side and said, we can't have that. That doesn't fit in with the narrative. So they never quote the Kohimarama Conference records. The only thing that they would pick out of that would be when some of the chiefs were questioning about when they were going to be paid for the land. And it was always open for them to come in and give their grievances, and everything was discussed. The treaty chiefs helped frame and shape how everything went, and they agreed to everything. They agreed. What Maoris are saying today? Who are these Maoris today that are saying the opposite? Who do you think they really are? They're obviously the rebels, right? So the government has given a tribunal bags of money, all this authority, to the rebels. They let the kingitanga go for 100 years now as a monarchy. And she's around the world visiting all the other royals and things. Do you see how it happens? It starts out as just something fake. It's just child's play. Theatre. But what has it turned into for them? $1 billion industry. That's what it's turned into. And we've paid for that. Okay, so they genocided our ancestors, never said sorry. We've never had a tribunal about that. We survived that. And then somehow, we all fought for freedom from them. Thousands of lives perished because of the kingies genociding across the land. And then all of a sudden in the early 1900s, after it was all finally over, the last death cult member was arrested, they started up again. Now, don't you think that the Crown should have been a watcher on the wall there? They should have been considering that treason? No, apparently not. Apparently you can be a king and a queen in New Zealand. You're free to start a monarchy. You're free to start your own government. I don't know what space New Zealand's in, but the Maoris are doing everything that is just totally the opposite to the treaty. Totally the opposite. It's a weird thing. It's a flip-flop. It's a lot of witchcraft going on in it too. So the first phase is just getting the numbers while we can. Okay, because in 10, 20 years' time we're going to be a minority, and then they're not going to give a shit about us. They're not going to care about our children. They won't. They'll keep pumping the fact that your ancestors tried to exterminate the Maori in every way, and they've got all the assorted stories about Parihaka. Nobody even got hurt that day. There was no fighting that day. And it's not because Maoris were peacefully resisting. It's because for 15 years they'd carried on rebelling and attacking Pakeha farms down the Taranaki there, and they were given grace and all of that for years, 15 years, until finally they had to go in there. There was a humanitarian crisis. They were eating half-ripe potatoes. People were enslaved there. People were being shot for leaving. There was only about 1,000 of them. They reckon they had this dystopian lifestyle with all these orchards. No. It was rat-infested. The kids were being abused. No, they had to go in there. That was a crisis, people. I'm sorry, but the Pakeha are humanitarian evangelical people. Okay? And we're patient and we give grace. And that's what happened with Parihaka. Now that's the centre of their boohoo industry. They tell the whole world that the Parihaka thing in 1881, right, these are the people that broke the treaty, was the Maori trying to fight for their land. It's the British came in and invaded. No. I'm sorry, I'm sick of all these lies, and I think most of the country is. The Pakeha mindset, yes, is very stubborn. We're disengaged, we're isolated, because we don't have maraes. Yeah, we have churches, but it's not just Pakeha churches. I mean, there's a lot of Asians and Indians in every church. The churches aren't for one race, okay? Pakeha have never had a church for just Pakeha or just whites. Never. It's never happened, but it's happening now, okay? Because we're answering your haka, the challenge that you gave. You're the ones that wanted the war, okay, and we're bringing it. We're bringing the war of the mind, the intelligence. We're coming with a Colonial Mission March. Bina Cooper, her slogan was not one more acre. Well, our slogan's going to be not one more mind, because we're sick of people being mind-washed, brainwashed and indoctrinated with lies. And that's what makes people hate colonialism and hate us Pakeha. That's why we're pariahs. And all of these cookie-cutter scripts about us all around the world, and, you know, the indigenous people that are not even indigenous. Yes, they're native, but we're native too. We're just as native with up to 10 generations now. It's like they're telling us to go back to England. Oh, so now you've got all our stuff and all our knowledge. You don't need us anymore. Is that what you're saying? That's the Maori culture. It's the Maori mind. And they reckon our mindset is bad. No. They're the ones that have been trying to exterminate us, breed us out, but still call your kids Maori. The Crown should have been onto this, and they should have kept that limitation of 51% of the blood quantum. They should have, because now they've got big problems. They don't know how to fix it. That's why they need us. They need us Pakeha. I reckon we're going to be a breath of fresh air to the government, because they need help. They need help from us, not from the Maori. They need help from us. There's going to be some MPs that say, oh, thank God the Pakeha have finally risen up. Now we can, you know, now we can have some support. Okay, think of it that way. Think of it that way, people. The Pakeha name's very important because it's legal and lawful. The Pakeha people have to stop rejecting the name. We're preparing a pathway that you can follow, a proposal that you can look at. I'm going to put some links in the comments. We're going to be talking about what the treaty chiefs said. I mean, they're not happy with what these Maoris are doing today. They don't even agree with it at all. They said quite the opposite. What else have I got there? Oh, yeah, we've got a lot of descendants, like me, from the Victorian era that are spearheading this movement, by the way, too. We're going to be thumbprinting documents. We're going to be claiming our authority. Okay, it's the other race of the treaty. We're going to be claiming the same rights as Maori. We're going to get our tribunal. If the government doesn't set us up with a tribunal, we're just going to do our own one under the Magna Carta. So either way, we're going to win, folks. Okay, we just have to use what we've got. We've already got what we need. Okay, we've got the whole Bible as well. Okay, and if you know the Bible like I do, you can use it. We've got so many things, okay, to back us, and we're all going to get it into one big documentation. And that's what we're going to take to Parliament when we have the Colonial Mission March. We're going to tour through some of the main churches. That's going to be a test for the churches. I'm going to be ringing them up and I'm saying, hi, it's Addie Morrison here. I'm just calling to say that we're doing a Colonial Mission March and around late 2027. We haven't finalised some dates yet, but we need to send you an invitation to host a stopover on our way down to Parliament. Kind of similar to the Maori Land March, you know, where Pina went to all the maraes and all that. Oh yeah. Oh, okay, we can't really make a decision now. I don't know, I don't want you to make a decision now. You know, I'll send you some information first. We have a proposal, and I'm just asking as a Christian, would you host we can stop. We're going to do a bit of a performance. We've got a prophetic message, and we've got a petition to sign. So I'll send you a brief of that on email, and then you can get back to me with what your thoughts are on that. So that's how I'd handle a phone call, right? And I'd ring them all up. It's going to be a test for them, because I've been into so many churches for decades. I came out of them 15 years ago, and they didn't like me because I was outspoken. And I ended up writing a book about all my experiences in there, and they're just completely pathetic, I'm telling you. Oh my God, no wonder the country's in peril. We haven't had any prophetic direction or revelation or anything like that, because the churches don't like people like me. They don't like people that are intuitive, are visionaries, and they have a prophetic mantle, and they're scared of you. It's a really weird thing. I can't explain it. You wouldn't expect Christians to be like that with each other, but they are. They are like that. They're very fixed in their ways, like I said before. The Pakeha mindset. We need to be a little bit more trusting of each other. Okay, you've got to trust each other, and you've got to be like, you're just a component in the mix. You're just a part in the play. Okay, you're not the play. Okay, so you've got to work together with other people. You've got to understand their initiatives rather than just judge. Pakeha are very judgmental. I hate that about them. But we have a wonderful past here, and we are humanitarian evangelical people, and we have a spiritual calling on us. That's why we're here, because God sent us. You can't take the Christianity. The law and order is based on Christianity in the Bible. Everything, all the Bill of Rights and everything, all your rights that you have are based on Scripture. Okay, you've got to show some respect for it, and that's our national identity. And these other religious threats coming in are going to be a big threat, and they're going to take over too. They want to take over as well. Okay, so we can't let them. We let them be here, but you've got to have some understanding. You've got to understand the Pakeha first, because we're the majority. They don't even know who we are, because we're not branded or even talked about. They just want to sweep us under the carpet. They're scared of us. Okay, because we are many. And the treaty chiefs told the Maori people, the rebels, not to get on the bad side of the Pakeha, because they're going to be many. He said there's thousands of them coming. They wanted thousands of us. Okay? And they got thousands of us. And we're still here, us families from the Victorian era. And we're sick and tired of being slandered, defamed, shamed and blamed, and having our faith blasphemed. We're coming for you. You can bet your bottom dollar. And no matter how long it takes, we've got a goal of 1 million of us. 1 million Pakeha by I don't know, I'm not going to set a date. I'm thinking, by the Colonial Mission March, we're going to have 1 million members on our data bank. And we're just going to be serving people. Okay, we need to edify and equip ourselves and unify, and then we can outreach. I'm not saying we want to be separate and we're going to forget about everybody. No, we're the ones with the solutions and the answers, because we already did it before. We've proven it. We've got the pattern. The Maoris can't say that they have these caring family values and put a Maori name to it and say it's their tradition. No, they learnt all that from Christianity. Yeah. They learnt it all from Christianity. And you can go off to their meetings and say, we're going to be learning about manaakitanga tonight, or kotahitanga, we're going to be learning about that. They stick a Maori word on it. That's what I don't like about them bastardising the reo. They stick a Maori word on it and make it sound like it was some traditional Maori thing. But it's not. It's just values and traditions and customs. Who doesn't have those? They took on the Christian customs and traditions and beliefs. They left the old tikanga behind. In fact, the treaty chief said to leave it all behind. All that old tikanga, the ancestral worship and the fables and the tales and everything, and that the new tikanga was Christianity. It was a way of life. It was also their healing. They called it rongapai, which is listening to the good news. That was the first flag the Maori had. It was a white flag with the word rongopai on it. That's where the rongo word they get it from. But it actually means listening to taking on Christianity, living Christianity, reading the Bible. That's where all your good values and everything are, right in there, that people live. It's just a generic philosophy. It's not religion. But the personal relationship with God was something the treaty chiefs actually experienced, and that's why the haka was written by the chief. He's talking about going from death to life in baptism. And it talks about the missionary man coming and lifting him up. And he has this exchange and he gets lifted up to the sun. And in the end he goes, and he's trying to jump up to God. There was a revival here in New Zealand, people. 95% of the country was Christian when the treaty was signed. What's happened to us? All you other people have usurped our colonial institutions. You've layered over our culture and our Christianity. And you wonder why we've got a problem. Yeah, we're angry, and we're going to be angry, and we're going to be unapologetic, and we're going to be fearless, and we're going to break through that. Oh, you're just racist and white supremacist. We don't care what you say. We're going to break through the waters of adversity, and we're going to go out into the nice clear blue sea, okay, on our ship, because everybody else has got a ship. We're going to have a vessel too, okay, and that's going to be us coming together. Is going to be a type of spiritual temple. Okay, we've got to draw on the God and country philosophy and the milestones and the memories of what life used to be like. Remembering and thinking about what it would have been like in the pioneer days. What would it have been like living off-grid? Wouldn't we have been just as close to the rivers and the Pawashell and the silver fern? I think so. Wouldn't have we been living off the sea, fishing and all of that? Yeah, wouldn't we have been going up mountains? Because in the Bible, the mountains are actually built. This is what it says in the Word of God. The mountains are so you can get close to God because He's not far away. He's not in another dimension. You know, God sits above the circle of the earth and He looks down and sees us like grasshoppers. Yeah? Yeah. That's right. So He's not far away. He's not in some invisible, He's right there above the dome, above us. That's where He is. The Word of God came and it became flesh, and the flesh of the Word of God came with the Pakeha. We belong here, we inherited here. Okay, but we haven't jumped up and down and said, oh, we're the guardians of the land, we own the land, we're sovereign. Have we? Have we done that? No. We haven't done that. We've been humble. And we've given grace, and we've helped all of those people, humanitarian operations, and evangelical works. Okay, and why aren't we allowed to live there? Why aren't we allowed to have freedom of association? We should be having our own colonial town, where we can have freedom of association, well, without all this racism and everything like that, and the tall poppy syndrome, people calling us, born racist white supremacists, that have accrued wealth off stolen land. I mean, we're sick and bloody tired of it. I'm just about ready to fucking punch somebody if they say that to me again. I don't have any land and I don't have a house. I don't have any inheritance. I don't even have a job. I look after my elderly mother here at home. It's not even my home, we rent. Where's my privilege? Where is this privilege that I apparently have accrued? Because as far as I know, the Pakeha in the ancient times, we had land stolen off us too by the Crown, so that's why we need our tribunal as well. The Pakeha name is our golden ticket to get a tribunal and to get reserve seats in Parliament, have our own elections and electoral. If they don't get rid of Te Pāti Maori, then we just go for reserve seats, okay? That's what we do. We just need the numbers. 1 million by the end of 2027, I reckon, or by mid-2027. So fostering unity, the other part of what we're doing is being a political voice and media for Pakeha. The Maori have all their media and they hog our mainstream one as well. We need one. This is all coming out of necessity. So political voice and media, yeah, we just want people to start, talking about Pakeha. Start interviewing Pakeha people about how they feel about all this crazy persecution and this anti-colonial decolonisation, whipping up a storm. I mean, it's getting worse and worse and worse. People need to start talking about it. I mean, you can interview me if you want to. We just have to organise the questions. It has to be all organised beforehand. Logo competition. I've got a little logo, the fleur-de-lis that I've put up there. I think it's quite nice. It's Frenchish, but it's English as well. But yeah, we could have a logo competition. Somebody make a logo for the Pakeha movement. How do you see the Pakeha culture? How would you identify the Pakeha in a logo? It's a good question. We don't have any branding. We want some branding. Somebody make some t-shirts with Pakeha aura on them. With a big exclamation mark. It's just making a statement and getting people used to it. Okay, we've got to normalise the fact that we are special people. We are special. Our past is sacred and we want the great stories told. We don't want to be blasphemed all the time. It's not right to dehumanise a whole race of people. Okay, we're just sick and tired of it and it has to stop and we're going to make it stop. So there's the political side, which I can talk about another time, and there's also preserve and celebrate colonialism. Have festivals and things like that. So we've got a lot going on. We've got a lot of really great ideas and info. And I'll put those links in the comments. I'm not going to talk any longer because I've gone over an hour now. So I've just got passion and drive to rally people together. I've got a lot of talents. I've done a lot of research. And I'm still learning. I don't know everything. So I'll do another live in another few days and talk a little bit more about the political side of it, the council politics, the socio-political. Because we got 500 members, I think, by now. And we can be an online political party. I'm not starting a political party, but when we get the database, somebody else might want to. I'm not going to be the president of that because I've got another role. Okay, I'm the director. I can't be everything. So somebody has to be the president of a political party. Now, we're not going to go on the general roll. We're going to have our own one. Remember, we're going for the reserve seats. So we've got to form the council first. And once we get to the point where we get reserve seats, then those people that are on the council or the 6 best selected from the 25 can take those seats in Parliament. So we've got to set it all up first, okay, and prepare and plan. So have a look at the proposal, skim through the links I'll put in the comments, and what else is there? Hold on, let me just look at my notes here. I was going to go over the Jeff Parker, but I'll do that another time. What else notes here? No, that's about it. Just another plug for the band. We're forming a band, so we need musicians, singers, stagehands, dancers, any type of performer, any type of artist, especially if you're in Auckland, because this is where we're going to start it. If you are a musician or a singer in Auckland, we need you. So you can email us for that. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye.